Welcome to my channel. My name is Alexandria. I am the Millennial Nursepreneur. You can find me on Instagram at Millennial Nursepreneur. Today I'm going to be talking about mindset for success. This is specifically for freelance writers with a background in nursing or in healthcare. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to this channel and we are going to get started. I have my notes per usual. So I wanted to create a video about mindset for success because I remember what it was like when I started my business. And a lot of nurses, a lot of healthcare professionals, and everyday people, right? We don't have a ton of experience in starting a business. It seems so much harder sometimes than it really is. And I know for my experience for going through this process, one of the things that I found out is that every business will have its own pathway that will be required it follow in order to keep up with rules and regulations that are set forth by your state, by your government, by your federal government, and even at the local level, whether it's your county or your city that's also looking over your business. And outside of all of the legal stuff, still, starting a business can be really intimidating, and it's super important that you have a mindset that really kind of says, okay, I got this. And if you don't got it, make sure that you reach out to people who do. At the bare minimum, I recommend that you have an accountant and a business attorney as you're going through the startup process for your business. But before all of that, we're going to focus on shifting your mindset for success. So I have my notes just to make sure I don't forget nothing. So I wanted to make sure that I talked with you guys in this video about my process or my experience with starting a freelance writing business. So for people who don't know, I decided to start my freelance writing business in 2022 while I was smack dab in the middle of finishing my PhD. And I decided that I wanted to start it because I wanted to get back some of what I felt like I was missing from not working at the bedside anymore, which was the patient education. And when I first started my business, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I quickly purchased a couple of courses from nurses who created courses to help people become their own content writer, their own freelance writer. And it really, 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 really helped because I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to, prioritize things. Well, what do I do first? Do I purchase a website to start a blog? Do I start introducing myself immediately to people as a freelance writer with or without any samples or pieces to give them, or a website to send them to? And all of that can be really anxiety provoking, and I have a lot of anxiety, so I really needed to kind of weather the storm by having other people who could kind of help me navigate the waters a little bit. And it took me a while to get my first client. I won't lie. It took me, I'd say, about 9 months to get my first client. As I said before, I had been in the middle of my PhD studies, actually towards the end of my PhD studies, when I decided to start a freelance writing business. And that took up the majority of my time. I think by the time I had actually defended my dissertation, I had started the business and created a website, but I hadn't put myself out there. I hadn't started shifting my social pages to let people know that I was a freelance writer. I hadn't been to any conferences. I hadn't networked with people. And once you do all of that, that's when your freelance business can really take off. Networking is so important. I will have another video on that later. But throughout my process with becoming a freelance writer, it took me a while to really get comfortable with telling people that that was something that I was doing. In large part because I had already started a transition from bedside to nurse scientist and getting this PhD and really getting deep into research. But freelance writing really kind of goes hand in hand in some ways with research because so much of it is writing and researching your topic. So the two made sense in my mind, and I just kind of kept going with it. But I also want to make sure that I talk to you guys about some of the lessons that I learned along the way, because you're going to have those days where you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I even bothering? Nothing's moving at the rate that I want it to, or, I'm not getting the clients that are paying insane amounts of money for me to write for them. Something's got to be wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you. This is a process. And that is one of the largest lessons that I had to learn, was that while you are transitioning into being a freelance writer, people don't know who you are. And that takes time. It takes time for people to figure out exactly who you are and what you might be able to do for them. And it takes time to write samples. It takes time to start a website. It takes time to figure out all of the legalities for creating your business. And one of the largest lessons that I had to learn, another large lesson that I learned, was to not be so hard on myself and to not be so critical of myself. When you're stepping into something that you're unfamiliar with, you are bound to learn some things that you just didn't know. And it's very true what they say, you don't know what you don't know until somebody shows you something or tells you something that you didn't know. And I think that was one of the lessons that I wanted to make sure that I covered. I'm going out of order here, but I want to make sure that I let people know that the learning curve can sometimes be incredibly real, especially if you have no background in journalism and you're stepping into freelance writing. Is not an indicator of how successful you're going to be. I want to make sure that that people understand that, and that I also make sure I tell you guys to embrace the challenges, because that's what's going to make you that much more of a stronger writer and someone who people can gravitate towards, because they see the work ethic that is coming from you making this transition into freelance writing and stepping into a realm that maybe you didn't know anything about. The first lesson that I wanted to mention for this video in regards to mindset is to make sure that you understand that you are in charge. When you decide to start your business, it's your business. Nothing is going to get denied unless you deny it. Nothing is going to move unless you move it. And that is something I'm still working on as I go through freelance writing and really kind of better understand everything that I want to come out of freelance writing, because it changes, right? As you grow and evolve, your business can also grow and evolve. And freelance writing is it reminds me so much of being a nurse, in that it's not stagnant. It doesn't have to be. If you want to venture into other arenas within freelance writing, within content writing, you absolutely can. So you have to remember that you're in charge of how much growth or stifle you might see within your business. Most of it at least, is up to you. Another lesson that I've learned within my first couple of years of being a freelance writer is that your core values matter. And really, I wish that someone would have explained this to me earlier, and maybe they did, and I just didn't pick up on it, because there's just so much that you're gonna be learning as you go through this process. And what I mean by your core values is really tapping into that why. Why are you writing, and what is your intent? If your intent is to sell medical devices, then that's where you need to write. If your intent is to educate a larger audience about a specific condition, then that's where you need to write. If your intent is to highlight stories that you believe are untold, like a feature article, that's where you need to write. Your core values really will shine through in your content as you're writing those articles. I guarantee it. You know, some of my best articles have been features. Why? Because most of the features that I have written thus far have been personal, and people always gravitate towards you being vulnerable. That is all I have for this video. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to this channel. You can also follow me on Instagram at Millennial Nursepreneur. And if you are looking to take a course and get more resources on becoming a freelance writer, please look in the description. You will see a link to my course.